students were against the language, a particular language, say English. So the role of media in this particular issue was like, to get high TRPs, to sensationalize the issue rather than reporting the correct facts. I don't know much about this entire issue, but I think whatever I could grasp from the brief discussion that we had over here, I could feel that the role of media could have been fairer, and it could have been a little more clearer to the public, so that issues could have been dealt with more clarity and keeping every stakeholder's perspective in mind. So, would you like to add?
I wasn't very familiar with this issue. I wasn't as close to it as my teammates, and I think they've summed it up well and pretty much covered everything. But all I'd like to reiterate is that I too believe that change is good and required, and everyone deliberating this could have come up with a very healthy conclusion, and it could have led to a very healthy change. But if it wasn't for the execution of it, if it wasn't for the politicizing of it, which includes having contradictory opinions and ulterior motives being brought into the picture.
One small point. The one amusing dimension of this controversy was that students were demanding that we should be judged on these parameters. It is a strange thing. It should be the prerogative of the agency, say UPSC in this case, how to judge it. Students can't demand. But having said that, you cannot understate the importance of proper planning. If they are planning to having some idea about some planning to change that, make the transition, and that should be put into the public domain well before, so that all stakeholders, people who might get affected by this change, should have a time to prepare accordingly.
I think it's interesting that everybody on the table, either the people who were already aware of the issue or they kind of got to know, and plus the people I have spoken to in the past on this issue, everyone does agree that the change is probably needed, could have been executed better. But what it kind of is a thing to wonder about is when a change that affects people, they are very emotional and passionate about. And that is the time people just lose their cool and then forget about all these things. In hindsight, it's very easy for people to say that, okay, this is the best solution. And the problem is that everybody has a solution to the problem without understanding the problem. And I think that is what happened here, is that everybody wanted a solution, everybody had a solution, but we still don't have a solution to the problem. So it's very kind of interesting, and look, in hindsight it's very easy even for myself to sit here and debate, but to kind of, when I think through, is that you've got people who might not have studied in Hindi and suddenly have to study in Hindi, people who've prepared in a different pattern and suddenly have to kind of come up with a different. So whatever change comes, it is going to affect someone or the other in some way or the other. It's how adaptable you are to that change, and that is where one learns over time in life, and that is where will kind of drive a solution. That is why most of the meetings don't end up in a solution, but end up in another meeting.
One time it becomes English versus say Hindi, English versus Tamil. But we need to decide how to take this up. I think the best way is to, there's no harm in promoting English. But it should not be the English versus something. It could be one of the many things that we learn. Mathematics we learn, computer we learn. So the emphasis should be on the quality education of English from the grassroots level. So people from one background where English is not that much emphasized upon, they should not be disadvantaged on account of their proficiency or say lack of that. So the emphasis should be to promote good quality English education, just like another subject, without any colonial hangover, just another subject, functional, we take it as a functional this thing, and it should be taught in a quality education. English language should be from grassroots level all across the country, so that people don't get disadvantaged because of this.
I have to add some point in it. basically, the government have to intervene it. One of my colleagues is telling that the media publications, where the media has come. If the issue is there, then media has come. And you should not make the things it is politicized, it is media person intervene in that. Issue is there. If issue is there, you have to think over that. I do agree that some of the private people is not suffering from that, not getting that circulars. If you see the guidelines from the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of this in Hindi language, we must have the respect for our language. So why you are starting that from the English circular and translating in the Google? If you see the meanings of a single line in English, there is a hurt in that. If you are communicating the same thing in Hindi, it is meaningless. So you have to think from this initial point, yes, this is the requirement not for the UPSC and not for the CSAT. This is the requirement for this country, and you must have the respect as per your constitution. Because your constitution says your national language is Hindi and you must have the respect for that. I'm not insisting anybody who is not in Hindi, but there is a government program. If the contradictory things is implemented by the government, the issue will come. And this is the state of controversy. We have to think over that, we have to give the solution, and we have to change our education policy. Otherwise, those who will suffer, they will come to the road and they will cry.
Very good, very good, very nice. Yes.
On a lighter note, Google translation, I mean, meaning goes for a toast. Microsoft become what? Mulayam, that Sukshma Mulayam. Microsoft becomes, with the Google translation, Sukshma Mulayam. That kind of this disaster happens when you go for Google translation.
Railway becomes low path Gamini.
So nobody understands these things.
I think that's where it's important to understand that some of these things are not as black and white as we do see them or believe them to be. There are shades of grey in real life, and you can't have a solution that fits all. You have to debate, discuss, and arrive at a solution. Some people might say it's a compromise, and that's where there is nothing perfect in this world. Sit down on a table, agree, and as we previously discussed, weigh the pros and cons. The pros and cons always help you decide which solution is better and is effective. Second way to also address is, how are we going to execute it? What are the problems that were there in the execution? So it's very easy to say that, this is the problem in the execution. You should always try to propose an alternative solution. I remember I was sitting with the CFO at a company and we were discussing a problem, and he actually asked me that what would be the 3 things that you would do if you were the CFO. And that made me think that, it's very easy for me to say that do this. If I am in that shoes, what is the solution I would propose? So it's always it helps to put yourself in that shoes and think through as what would have I done, and then analyze that problem. Is this solution going to help me, or I am going to be biased? Because usually the people present a solution that benefits them, and there is always this natural bias that will help me and not everyone or the society at large. That's where a lot of the times the conflict arises.
Good, very good. See, the point which you have made, you have been able to express very well. You say the constitution has written that in Hindi is our language. Now I somehow differ with you. My opinion is that we have many problems. We have tried to bring Hindi earlier. Miserably we failed. Yes, it is written by constitution. It is written in the constitution. It is not writing on the wall. Constitution should be amended. English as it is today is a requirement because we are becoming international. Chinese people are learning English. Japanese people are learning English. French people who were so close to their language and who used to hate people speaking English, they are also learning English. because English has become the international language. In South America, people are learning English where Spanish is the language. So therefore, my suggestion, which I have also placed everywhere, nobody has bothered, I know, ACTIE, etc., everywhere I have sent my suggestion. My suggestion is right from the beginning, right from standard 1, children should be taught not only 3, even 4 languages. 1, their local language, mother tongue. I have a right to learn my mother tongue. Mother tongue plus English. Then, now Hindi should not be made compulsory, because the moment you make it compulsory, there will be reaction from the southern states. Why you want to create a controversy? Then you say one other Indian language. Your mother tongue, English, one other Indian language, and one other foreign language. Because the German is replaced in, I think, ICSE schools, some Kendriya Vidyalaya or something.
But Sanskrit is already there in
Pardon?
all the classes. Sanskrit was there.
But nobody
As an option.
as an optional. Now always Sanskrit is always put up as an optional language. Nobody is actually taking care, or nobody is even speaking Sanskrit language.
So let me tell you, I wanted to learn English, Sanskrit.
Definitely, sir.
I wanted to learn Sanskrit. There is no possibility. I found that there was only one school. Their teachers were there, so I went to that school. It's very close to Nariman Point, so I went there. So there was one teacher, and I was one student. Now, then if you impose, you are only creating problems. You try to have lectures where a person should come, speak Sanskrit nicely, make you speak, like we have done some exercises. I can. Sanskrit shlokas are also such that if the person, the teacher, speaks clearly, you can all repeat. It's such a beautiful language. There is music in that. So this is how Sanskrit will get recognition, or more and more people will like to learn, because there is lot of knowledge in Sanskrit. But there is lot of knowledge also in German. There is lot of knowledge, or I wouldn't say French, but then there is Greek, there is Latin. So therefore, all other things should be optional. Sanskrit should be promoted socially. Socially, instead of having these Baba, which Baba is gone now. So we should have, pardon? Rampal. What a shame. So much of public space, the media, the bites of the minds of people, he has robbed. It was not necessary. So there, who is to be responsible? Responsible is only the government. Because people at the moment are not at a stage where they can think for themselves. We are following the system of Macaulay, who wanted only clerks. So until we change that, there should be communication between the government and the people. Just as we have Swachhata Abhiyan and various other things. Yes, there will be criticism, there will be problems. Some people will just want a show business, but then with these problems only will emerge final solution.
I have a slight
Yeah, no, you can differ fully, not even slightly.
I'm just differing slightly on this one. In the fact that usually it becomes, it's slightly convenient to accept English as a language for people who have an environment around themselves where English is spoken. And that is one of the reasons there is an acceptance to that. And people who have been brought up where Hindi is the environment, spoken language at home, might not necessarily be the mother tongue. Similarly, if you go down up north, probably Punjabi is more spoken. So there is a fine line between the spoken language and the mother tongue. So to the solution you provided, sir, just like to add is probably imposing a language saying that English should be the mandatory language, could be tweaked to say that you could have one of those languages, be it Hindi, be it English, be it Punjabi, be it Tamil, also to be included and not make it mandatory. Because the current impression is effectively, where I'll add my perspective is, in the school I did a lot of Hindi. I also did a lot of English. But when it comes to the practical corporate reality, I'm not writing emails in Hindi. I'm writing emails in English. So does it mean that Hindi is not the language I should be learning? And hence, that's where the difference I'm just trying to make.
No, if you see tomorrow that you will start Hindi, has learnt Hindi, Europe has also learnt Hindi. By that measure, yes, Hindi is as important as English. But that is not going to happen. Is that going to happen? No. What I have said, right from grade 1, everywhere, be it Bihar, be it Jharkhand, in Maharashtra they have introduced grade 1 English should run as per the mother tongue. I don't say Hindi. I say mother tongue, English and one other Indian language. Now one other Indian language, most of the people will choose Hindi. Because of the contribution of Bollywood is, these movies are popular, so therefore in South, they more or less understand Hindi. But if you try to impose, no, there will be reaction. That reaction, is it worth it? Are we at a stage where we are to solve only internal problems? We have not amended the constitution so far, so why not? So let us be practical. No, I'll listen to you. Let us be practical and see if those countries have started learning English. And we know that English is going to stay. English will not be routed out. English will go on increasing. More and more foreign companies are coming and they will only have English. Yes, now you can say.
Yeah. What I was saying is that it would be a bit short-sighted to say that at this point in time that English would stay in the form and manner it is. Who knows tomorrow what language will come through. Sanskrit was once spoken and was the language. We have a lot of lost languages in the past. So 100 years ago, 2000 years ago, a different language was spoken. So language is not permanent. Second, as you said yesterday, in terms of we should not necessarily get influenced and drive our goals by what is happening around the world. There are people who don't want to go to America. There are people who don't want to go to Europe. Why should that person learn English? And the reason I bring in that perspective is because for him to learn English, if the teacher in his school is not good, he has to get tuitions, and that's an extra burden. And the reason I'm bringing is that just artificially imposing and learning to teach someone English is difficult for that parent. I'll give you an example. My brother moved out from Delhi to Singapore. Now he has to learn a language, Chinese or Japanese or Singaporean in there. It's not easy for my nephew to actually learn that language. And I completely agree that if you start that learning earlier, it works in because you're learning it throughout the growth. But obviously because the parents don't know that language, there is a difficulty. And hence what also needs to happen side by side is that we need to improve our education system. We can't just say that we will impose a language and not have sufficient teachers who will be able to teach English. If I am choosing Sanskrit, as you mentioned that you only had one teacher who knew Sanskrit, we need to have teachers to be able to teach English, to be able to teach Sanskrit. Otherwise,